MAGA Mike Johnson is losing all control as the House of Representatives has finally returned to do work after MAGA Mike sent it into yet another recess while they are trying to figure out how to launder $1 billion for Donald Trump's golden ballroom as the parliamentarian continues to strike the provision down that the MAGAs want to put into this reconciliation bill, which would prevent the MAGAs from only needing 50 votes in the Senate to give $1 billion to Donald Trump for his golden ballroom. So MAGA Mike's out there posting photos of himself in front of a cross and a painting, a portrait of our founders. And he's saying, America stands alone as a nation founded upon a creed articulated in our Declaration 250 years ago that has been the greatest force for peace, justice, and innovation the world has ever known. May God continue to bless this great nation. He immediately runs to invoke God as he and MAGA Republicans are spiraling, and spiraling indeed in the polls. The latest New York Times Siena generic ballot has Democrats surging ahead in the upcoming midterms. Democrats at 50%, Republicans at 39%, a plus 11 advantage for Democrats in the upcoming midterms. That's one of the biggest leads ever. Also, as Dan Pfeiffer explains, while Donald Trump's approval in this latest New York Times Siena poll is a putrid 38%, when you look at some additional crosstabs of a block that helped Donald Trump win in 2024, Latino voters, Trump's approval, net negative 51. Voters aged 18 to 29, Donald Trump's approval, negative 57 among young people. Amongst independents, Donald Trump, net negative 43, Pfeiffer explains. An important segment of Trump's base hates the war in Iran. Net negative 23% of GOP voters disapprove of the war. So massive disapproval among GOP voters. And 22% think of going to war with Iran was the wrong decision. The problem is worse among 2024 voters, 28% of whom disapprove of the war. Democrats have a massive 14% advantage on the generic ballot among those most likely to vote, and Latinos prefer Democrats by 30 points there as well. So, as the parliamentarian in the Senate who rules upon the validity of reconciliation bills, which only require 50 votes in the Senate instead of 60 votes, which would, allow Democrats to filibuster. The parliamentarian has ruled that Donald Trump's $1 billion of taxpayer funding for his golden ballroom is not allowed in the reconciliation bill. So Trump then presses Thune, the Senate majority leader, upon his return, just fire the Senate parliamentarian. We don't like her. Get rid of her. This is a nonpartisan position, the Senate parliamentarian. And also now one of the things that the GOP is trying to figure out is, okay, maybe we can't give you $1 billion for your ballroom, but can we try to get you $800 million? Then maybe we'll resubmit it in front of the parliamentarian. Laura Weiss reports that Senate GOP leaders are considering lowering the $1 billion price tag for this golden ballroom. Meanwhile, you have Republican Congress member Don Bacon criticizing the Trump regime and Department of Defense policy, where they are pulling out of the joint military board with Canada. I'll do a whole video on that this morning as well. Congressmember Bacon explains this all started with taunts of Canada will be the 51st state. Their prime minister will be the 51st governor. The insults gained us nothing but animosity that cost us economically and now militarily. Cooler and wiser brains are needed to preserve a close alliance with our neighbor. And clearly, cooler and wiser brains are not in the House of Representatives, the Senate, or in the White House right now. So as Donald Trump sees, well, man, I can't get this $1 billion from my golden ballroom. Well, how can I launder money? How can I funnel money as a personal slush fund to my own little army, my own little military, my own little, SS, my own little paramilitary? In my opinion, of course, that's how I'm phrasing it as. So Donald Trump enters into a settlement agreement. I'll do a whole lot of videos with himself in the case where he sued the Treasury Department and IRS for $10 billion. And now he and Todd Blanche in the Justice Department are claiming that he can give $1.776 billion to January 6th insurrectionists, which violates the 14th Amendment, which violates the separation of powers. But this is what the Trump regime is doing. No wonder that their approval is so dang low right now as they engage in this despicable behavior. Now, as Congress returns, I'll just show you what some of these MAGAs are saying right now. So you've got like MAGA Republicans out there, like MAGA Republican Senator, let me show you this MAGA Republican Senator right here, Marshall. Here's what he says. He goes, and here's Maria Bartiromo with him, describing the Lincoln Memorial and reflecting Poole as just small stuff. Here, let's play this clip right here.
I was talking with John Fetterman about this yesterday, and he made the point, look, the Democrats are focused on all of this small stuff, like the ballroom, like the pool at the White House. In fact, he keeps going against his colleagues and voting with Republicans. What is your reaction to the parliamentarians' work?
Well, it's not surprising. This parliamentarian has always leaned left.
Then you've got MAGA Republican Congress member Derek Van Orden. Here's what he has to say. Let's play this clip.
That's what the president is saying. But if Iran is agreeing to that, I mean, it doesn't sound like Iran's giving up its nukes.
Well, they're going to have to. Donald Trump doesn't make threats. He makes promises. And he has told the Iranian regime repeatedly, in no way, shape, or form are they going to have nuclear weapons. So that does eventually mean getting rid of the highly enriched uranium that the Iranian regime has compiled over the years. No country enriches uranium to that level unless they're planning on making nuclear weapons. So they've been lying to the entire world writ large for decades now, and we're going to end it. I don't want our children and grandchildren to have to fight this war again.
Right. So Iranian crude exports. By the way, Iran is in dire straits.
I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of MeidasTouch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.
Now, can we just contrast that for a moment with what Mayor Mamdani is saying? This was Mamdani's speech yesterday. You could just see the contrast here. It's so clear.
I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are I'm from the government and I'm here to help." It's a good quote, but I disagree. I think 9 more terrifying words are actually, I worked all day and can't feed my family. We are going to use the power of government to lower prices and make it easier for New Yorkers to put food on the table. When government understands its purpose as serving the very working people that it has left behind time and again, it can make a difference in the most pressing struggles facing our city today. It's not just that government can help, it's that government must help, and our government will help.
Or you can just see what Democratic Congressmember Jake Auchincloss, a real rising star in the Democratic Party. Watch Jake Auchincloss. I think one day he's going to run for president. I think one day he's going to occupy a position like a Secretary of State or a head of the Defense Department. Definitely someone to have on your radar. Here's what Congressmember Auchincloss, Congressmember from Massachusetts, had to say. Let's play this clip right here.
First, he rolls out a red carpet, literally, for Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Then he calls Xi Jinping a great leader. China and Russia are not our allies. And by the way, Greenland and Canada are not our enemies. The president doesn't understand America's strategic position in the world, and that's why he's so bad at strategy.
And so with MAGA's completely suffering with, in the polls, with MAGA Mike terrified that he's going to lose his job, with Donald Trump terrified he's going to get impeached down this path, you have what state regime media, which calls itself Fox, doing? Well, you have Jesse Waters talking about UFOs. Here's what he's saying. Let's play this clip.
The Pentagon released the UFO files a few weeks back, and we just found out over 1 billion people have visited the site. 1 billion. It's got to be a record. The War Department says more files will be released soon. UFO experts and top researchers have been investigating aliens for years. Their sources say dozens of crashed UFOs have been recovered, and what they found inside, shocking.
You have Hannity just very briefly mentioning the shooting that took place in the San Diego mosque, which was obviously a terroristic hate crime. People who are motivated by the hateful rhetoric that's being spewed by the Trump regime. Watch how he describes and then pivots to, well, the FBI is doing so great under Kash Patel. No, what are you talking about? I mean, it's not just propaganda. It's like the worst propaganda ever.
Also tonight, horrific news earlier today in San Diego, where 2 gunmen opened fire at an Islamic center, killing 3 before taking their own lives. We will continue to monitor that situation and bring you updates as we have them. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's FBI, led by Director Kash Patel, continues to put the safety and security of you, the American people, first, racking up one major public safety win after another. I mean, these are big wins.
And then contrast that finally to Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner over in the great state of Maine. Here's what Graham Plattner has to say, so you can just see the contrast. Let's play this clip.
We just spent $50 billion in 2 months in the war in Iran, and I haven't heard a single question of where it came from. I am always amazed that this nation can just expend billions, trillions of dollars on wars that enrich the military-industrial complex, protect people in power, and we never have to have a conversation about where the money came from. But the moment you say that Americans deserve to see housing costs come down or energy costs come down, the moment we have to talk about healthcare, suddenly we have to pull our pockets out and pretend like we're paupers.
You take a look over here at the latest polling in Florida. This is a pretty wild stat right here. So in Florida, Democrats are surging ahead in the governor's race and the Senate race. And this is a legit poll, this Change Research poll. In the governor's race, you have the Democratic candidate Jolly leading Byron Donalds 46% to 42%. And then in the Senate, you have Vindman beating the incumbent Senator Moody 47% to 45%, folks. That would be part of a massive blue tsunami if that could be pulled off right there. And we'll be, of course, following that every step of the way. And now as Donald Trump and MAGA are tanking in the polls, a White House spokesperson is out there saying, we don't care about the polls. We don't look at these things. Who cares? Here, play it.
New York Times polling says that 65% disapprove or strongly or somewhat disapprove of the way the president has handled the war in Iran. What's his reaction to that? What's been the discussion at the White House about this new polling, Anna?
Well, President Trump is always acting in the best interest of our U.S. national security. Again, Iran is a country that for 47 years has chanted death to America, has killed Americans overseas, has threatened our troops, and as I said earlier, has now lashed out these rogue threats against our allies in the region. So this is not a situation that is sustainable. Iran knows that better than anybody. And so the president isn't making decisions based on fluid opinion polls. He's making decisions on what is best for the national security of our country, and there is nothing more paramount than ensuring this rogue regime cannot threaten our country with a nuclear weapon.
And meanwhile, within the House of Representatives as well, there's the big vote tonight in the primaries in Kentucky, where Donald Trump and MAGA have poured all their money into trying to get rid of Thomas Massie, the Republican who votes with Republicans like 91% of the time, except he supported releasing the Epstein files. And he's against the war in Iran, which for MAGA, you're disloyal. Watch Pete Hegseth attack Thomas Massie during this speech that he gave yesterday, which violates all ethics as well, that the defense secretary shouldn't be in Kentucky campaigning. It's so utterly ridiculous. Here, let's play this clip right here.
It's obstruction. President Trump does not need more people in Washington who are trying to make a point, especially from his own party. He needs people willing to help him win, to vote with him when it matters the most. And too often, Thomas Massie has acted like his job is to stand apart from the movement that President Trump leads instead of strengthening it.
So that's what's going on right now in the House. We'll keep you posted, and in Congress right now as its return. We'll keep you posted every step of the way, of course. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers, and thank you all so much for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.